start off with, especially this time of year, you're probably seeing a low tire pressure light come on the car. You've seen them in the past. A lot of times it's just a change in temperature. The cold weather will set off your pressure sensor. And what happened about 10 years ago, the federal government decided that to make cars safer, and people, we tend to be lazy. We don't check our tire pressure as long as the car rolls. We think we're fine. Came out with tire pressure sensors. And these are replacing your valve stems that you've always seen in your car or in the bicycle. These are actual valve stem when you put the air in. There's a computer chip in here that senses your tire pressure and transmits to your dash when the pressure drops 20% below what's recommended on the door jamb of your car. So most cars are in the neighborhood of 32 to 35 pounds. This drops down about 6 pounds. It'll send that notice to your dash telling you have a low tire. Some cars are more advanced. They'll tell you left front tire, right rear tire. Some just tell you have a low tire. And it can be your spare tire also. So most times if you walk around your car when you have this light on, you don't see a tire that's completely flat, you're safe to drive it down to us and we'll inflate the tires. If you have one that's bad, then, it's going to be obvious, and then you want to either call somebody to have your spare tire put on, or call a wrecker or whatever to get it down to us. But I'm going to pass these around. This black one is a defective one. It actually has a cap on it. It'll start over here. It broke off. You always want to make sure if you look at your car with your sensors that you have a plastic black cap and not a chrome cap. The chrome caps tend to stick to your car, to the valve stem, and you go to take it off, it snaps off, and then you're going to have to buy a new one of these that start off at $88 and go up from there. And these are battery operated, just so you know. Pardon me?
Where in the car is that?
It's right on your wheel. Each car has a valve stem on it where you inflate the tire.
Yeah.
So you'll see it right there. So when Wayne does it, or after he does your, shows you how to jack up the car and everything where your jack is, you can come over to the car and you can ask him or myself, and I'll show you where they are. But this is a new one. You can see how it's much better condition. But that's just that's the main goal of it, is just to tell you have a low tire. Now there's a lot of problems that can happen with a low tire or an overinflated tire. I've just got a couple used tires here that we can show you. Real quick. Tire inflation is very important. Too much air in the tire will cause the tire to wear out in the center. So you come in and we'll say, you look at the tire from the outside, when you're walking by, and you go, I get all kinds of tread, and I'll tell you that when you come in for an inspection or something, or when you come in for a vehicle checkover, you need tires. And the reason that too much air in the tire, it's going to wear the tire right out in the center of the tread. So you're basically riding on a hump in the middle. So the outside looks like it's great. This is just more newer than it normally would be.
Wow. So the outside looks great, but look at the center.
That was because you get
Too much air.
Too much air.
Now if you have too little air, you look at this one right here, tread in the center looks great. And the tire on the outside is worn right down almost into the steel belt on this side, and not quite as bad on this side. But that's primarily for not having enough air pressure. And so now the tire is going to be riding on the outside edges. A lot of times you hear a symptom if you go around the corner, you're going to hear the tire squealing. A lot of times that's because the tire is too low on air pressure. Again, that's, if it gets to this point, it's to the point where you have to replace it. But that's the whole purpose of having that tire sensor, so you're not driving around on it. Most cars, like I said, from 2003 on, aren't going to have a regular valve stem. You're going to have that sensor, so you know what's happening before that happens to you. Another problem you have with tires, you'll be going down the road and you hear a pumping noise, and you can't figure out what it is. Well, a lot of times the tire is wearing unevenly. And if you can look at this one, this one's actually wearing on a 45-degree angle across the tread. When that happens, you most often be on a front-wheel drive car on the rear. It's caused from being out of alignment. If it happens on the front, it's doing a wear pattern similar to this. It's going to be suspension related, where you can have bad shocks, you can have bad parts of the front end. An alignment problem is, I don't have a really good tire to show you, but if your tire is out of alignment, if you can imagine this half the tire being real good and this tire just being worn on one side, it's normally caused by the alignment being off. Again, it could be from parts being worn, it could be caused from the toe setting, which adjusts an alignment setting on it, being off, and it'll cause it to wear on one side or the other side. So again, that's just items that we check at Irwin's or Quick Lane. Every time you come in, we always check your tires to see how they're looking. If you do get a flat tire, there's two ways of repairing it. There's only one acceptable way, and that's actually having, I didn't bring over a tool unfortunately, it's actually going to be a patch with a long piece of rubber attached to it. And then the patch part and the rubber part go into the tire and we pull it through, so the tubing part seals the hole that's in the tread, and the patch actually covers the inner liner, because the inner liner is made of a special material, so it seals the tire, and that again seals, I don't need to use the same word all the time, but it covers the inside and stops the air membrane from the inside from leaking. If you go to some gas stations, if they just put a plug in your tire, that's a temporary repair. You never know if they've sealed the tire completely. It's usually always going to leak. You always want to have that tire taken off because you don't know if there's any damage on the inside of the tire. If you didn't catch it in time, a lot of times there'll be rubber dust on the inside where the tire has lost its integrity in the sidewall. The sidewall is your weakest point of your tire. Once there's any kind of rubber dust on the inside, the tire is unsafe. If you come in for a repair, the sidewall can never be repaired. If you're someplace and they say, oh, you got a hole in the sidewall, we're going to repair it. Untrue. It's unsafe. Any damage to the sidewall of the tire, you're going to need a new tire. The accepted area to repair a tire is usually from your two channel grooves. From this point, from this channel right here to the side over here. Anything further out, it's not going to be an acceptable repair. What happens is that patch that you put inside, even though it's vulcanized in there, glued in, it doesn't stay, especially on a radial tire because there's so much flex. That starts to move, comes apart, and all of a sudden you got a leak again. So it's just not worth taking a chance going down the highway at 70 miles an hour, having that tire come apart. Just because somebody wants to save you a few dollars and saying, oh, we can repair it. It's just not worth it. Visually, if you look on the outside of a tire after it's been run low, you can a lot of times tell. They call it the ring of death because the tire has actually been worn down. Your sidewall of your tire has been running on the edge of the rim. And it would leave a ring all the way around the side. It'll actually take off the name, like if your tire was a Michelin, that ring will actually take the name of the tire, the Michelin name right off, and you just see a ring right there. So again, just certain items to look for, But if you go to any, reputable place to have it repaired, a tire shop, a car dealer, they're all, trained in doing the proper repairs for you. And that's basically all I have. If you have any questions.
What do you think of fixaflat?
Fixaflat's great in an emergency, like if you're out on the road by yourself and you have the fixaflat to put in, some have the inflators with it and you put it in, it's great, it'll fix the tire as long as it's not a big hole. The problem is that residue stays inside the car. Sometimes it can cause a vibration problem. It will corrode your tire sensors wherever those are. It can plug those up and make them non-functional, but again, in an emergency, I'd go for it. If you don't have to, if it's not an emergency, then I wouldn't use it. If you come into us for a repair afterwards, it's more costly. We have to try to get all that fixaflat goo out of there before we can even repair it if we can. But definitely, if you have a can of it and you're in a secluded area or someplace where you can't get to a repair shop, use it. Yes?
Does rotate and balance actually add life to the tires?
Yeah, it sure does. That's a good question. Front-wheel drive cars put probably 50% more stress on your tires on the front. Your back tires are like trailing tires on a tractor trailer. They just along for the ride. So by rotating them, it gets all the four tires to wear evenly, and it will extend the life of your tires. If you don't rotate them, you can have the front tires wear out on just about any brand in about 20,000 miles. Your back tires being about half worn. Now you have an uneven set of tires, so if you go to replace two of them, the car's not going to handle the way it's designed to because you have two tires that are brand new, two tires that are half worn out. So it's definitely recommended.
What is it, every 1,000 miles?
You should do it every 5,000 to 7,500. Yeah, depending on the car manufacturer. Most tire manufacturers recommend 5,000 miles. Car manufacturers are anywhere between 5,000 and 7,500, depending on where oil changes are recommended.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Why don't they crisscross them?
I'm sorry?
Why do they not crisscross them? They go from front
Well,
to back and back to front, so you're always on the same side.
This,
The question was, so everybody can
Yeah, they
hear.
used to take the
Why
tire
do you
and
not
cross them
crisscross?
from right to left, so you would ride on the left side of the tire, and then you're riding on the right side of the tire. And they
good
don't
question.
do that
Again,
anymore.
there's 3 approved ways of rotating the tires. That crisscrossing, going straight from the front Back to the front and then crossing the other ones, doing the opposite, or going straight back and straight forth. All are approved methods by tire manufacturers. It's whatever your particular shop does. Most, like quick lane, we always go straight back and straight forward, just so that we know where that tire has been before. It used to be, when the radials first came out, if the tire went from the left side to the right side, there was a chance that the tire was going to cause a pull. It's no longer the case. You can put the radial tire on either side of the car. So it's basically just a shop preference on what they like to do. You can do either way. Yes?
Cars that are all-wheel drive use tires faster?
I would say
Would you
fast.
Would you repeat that?
The question was, do cars that are all-wheel drive wear tires faster? A lot of variables in it. It can depend on the type of tire they have on there, the speed rating on the tire. I would say that they use them, wear them faster as long as you have the tire rotation done every 5,000 miles. If it's a high mileage tire, they should last, pretty much the same on that car as a regular car. If you're talking about an all-wheel drive car that has tires that come original equipment from the factory, a lot of times those tires are designed to give you optimum fuel mileage and not tire mileage. Because of the gas regulations of the federal government, the car manufacturers are always looking to get even if it's only 0.2 of a mile per gallon more. So they're not always putting the tire on that's going to give you the longest mileage. So it's the original tires that we're getting the mileage from, that's part of the reason. But all-wheel drive shouldn't, use them faster.
So all-wheel drive cars use all wheels all the time? It's like keeping them as a slip or?
It'll go all-wheel, and Wayne can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but all-wheel drive would go into that all-wheel drive mode if you're in a slippery condition. It's not like, I don't believe they're all driving at the same time, is that correct? Yeah. It's two-wheel drive unless you get into a slippery condition, and it's going to start using the all-wheel drive without having to shift it into the other two wheels. Yes?
Yeah, assuming you have your tires rotated on the schedule that you described, is there any, what is the average expectancy of a set of tires, the mileage?
Depends on the brand. It could be anywhere from 15,000 miles to 90,000 miles. So there's quite a few companies that make 90,000 mile tires, Michelin, Pirelli. The Chinese tires that you see on the market, that, everybody advertises that so cheap, they're way below anything that anybody else advertises for. Those are the ones that you're only probably going to get about 20,000 miles out of them. So again, it pays to get a reputable brand. Most reputable brands will give you a mileage guarantee on them when you buy them, so they'll give you anywhere from 50,000 miles up to 90,000 miles on it, as long as the car stays in alignment and you do the tire rotations. Yes, sir.
A spare tire, there's a four tire, you're gonna change to 5,000. When do you do that spare? That's been sitting in there a year and a half?
You can do it when you do your regular tire rotations. Problem being, on a lot of cars, they use a different rim, so that if you do that, then you have to change the rims over. Some cars have the same, like a car that has an aluminum wheels on it, the spare rim is probably going to be a steel wheel. So most people don't even do anything with that spare tire, they just leave it in there in case of an emergency. Because every time you do a rotation with it, you're going to have to demount that tire. So you're going to have two demounts, two balances on top of your regular rotation fee, so it becomes expensive.
6 years ago, the air went down a bit.
Yeah, you still have to adjust that air in the tire even though it's not being run, because that atmospheric pressure will change it.
Forget all about it.
Yep.
Those are excellent questions. One of the questions that led to, I was going to ask Billy just to explain a little bit, because what can you expect? Well, for miles on the tires, that's the time, when you're shopping for tires, that's when you ask. Billy is very transparent and putting out tires. He is our tire guru. He's the best in the Lakes region, right? He is. And if you're shopping tires, they can give you pricing, and they can give you the rating. So you might buy a $90 tire, and it might be rated at 35,000. Or you might buy a $165 tire, and that's going to be rated at 90. I mean, those are decisions you need to know when you're shopping for tires. And those are questions you need, and this is why we want to talk about it. Those are the questions you need to ask when, in fact, you are doing some tire shopping. Do you have any other recommendations on how they would know that, or it's just more, he'll give you the data for it?
Any reputable place will be able to give you a printout on the tire, show you the mileage on it, so you're not taking it to salesman's face value, you know, because I'm a firm believer in seating and writing. If it's in writing, it's from the manufacturer, so you know what you're actually getting on it.
And they do print that on there. They'll print it on and tell you what you can expect. Mind you, that's again making sure proper inflation,
Yeah, alignment.
tire rotation, and keeping up with alignments, which is very, very important.
Yes.
If you have a blowout, how should you respond?
As far as driving,
If you're driving down the highway, and the tire blows, should you use the brakes?
you do, but you don't have to do a real hard stop on the brake, because depending on the type of suspension on your car, a real hard stop, like if it's a rear tire and you slam on the brake, it is going to make the rear end swing out on you. So you want to just do a steady pressure on it. And again, most of the time, you know, blowouts are usually, you know before you're going to have a blowout, because you're going to all of a sudden hear a rumble. Very seldom you run over something large enough that's going to blow the tire instantly. Most blowouts are slow leaks. The tire builds up heat when you have a slow leak, and then when it builds up too much heat, that's when you get the blowout. Very seldom when you see a tire that has a big hole in the sidewall is it from hitting something and the tire lost its air instantly. Most of the time it's a very slow leak, could be a nail, and that's why it's great to have those tire sensors, so you know ahead of time. But in the old time, before we had those, it was just a regular valve stem. People wouldn't know it. It will give you a thumping sound. The car's not going to handle right. The tire's on the front and it's low on air pressure, you're going to feel a pull all the time because that tire's working harder than the tire on the left that's rolling easy. But on stopping, you definitely don't want to slam on the brakes. You want to, come to a gradual stop on it. Yes.
Billy, could you mention something for the ladies about the numbers on the side of tires and the code for the year?
Yep.
Because a lot of tires sit on shelves. If they get in a predicament someday that they need a tire, and stop at a shop that a tire has been sitting on a shelf for 5 years.
Yeah, all tires, they have what they call the DOT number, which is the Department of Transportation. Will put a number on the side of the tire. Most of the time, unfortunately, unless it's a Michelin tire, it's going to be on the back side of the tire that you can't see. But if you're buying a tire, it's always on one side of the tire. It's going to show the plant that it was manufactured in, which is the first 4 numbers. It will show the location of that plant, or what state it's in, and the last 4 numbers are going to be the week and the year of manufacture. Like this one is, the last 4 numbers are 1009. So this was made in the 10th week of 2009. There is no, at this point, no expiration, for lack of a better word, on tires. Congress is trying to get through where for tires over 6 years old, that you should replace them, which to me is, foolish. A tire, when it gets old, you're going to start seeing cracks in the tread. You're going to see age cracks on the sidewall. If you don't see any of those, the tire is still going to be reputable. It's still not going to have a problem. If a tire is warehoused and out of the sun, it can be like 3 or 4 years old. When you buy it, it's still going to be fine. Some places store tires outside, like you see them, not to pick on them, a tire warehouse will roll their tires outside and have brand new tires sitting out there in the sun. Well, those tires are aging, even though they're not on the car. They might be brand new with stickers on them, but they're not being kept out of the sun. The sun hits them, and they start oxidizing the sidewall, starts deteriorating the rubber. So you never want to buy a tire that's been, sitting out in the sun. If it's kept inside, up to 4 years old, you'll have no problems. Only on trucks. Yeah. Cost for producing radios as opposed to the new radio tires, as opposed to retreading a radio tire, it just got so cost prohibitive that there aren't any more manufacturers, or if there are, there are very few. Everything's mostly designed for the large trucks. Yes, ma'am.
What is the protocol, let's say, if you have, I'll make myself, I bought Toyota here.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it in for regular inspections ever since I bought it. At what point would I come over to you?
We're basically the same company.
I know
You
that.
can come over to us for anything that's not warranty related. So if it's warranty related, then
Then
it
say,
stays here. But
And these guys aren't going to be miffed because I go over to your
No.
place for a tire.
No, not at all. Yes,
I can answer that because I've had an appointment, tried to get an appointment here at this place before, and they were overbooked for that day, so they sent me to your